Ed and Lorraine Warren have come into possession of the Annabelle doll that they believe to be a demonic conduit that acts as a beacon to other evil spirits. They take the doll home and place it under a chapel glass that acts as a spiritual barrier and bless the doll on a routine basis to try to keep the evil at bay. They also keep it in a room under lock and key with all their other possessed artifacts. 1 year later, and the two are out on business, leaving their daughter Judy with a babysitter, Mary Ellen. Unfortunately, stupid teenagers prove to be quite stupid, as Mary Ellen's friend Daniela invites herself over and proceeds to try to throw a party. Also, she goes wandering around a certain room that she shouldn't have been wandering. Although I have to point out the Warrens themselves have to be kind of stupid, as they didn't hide the keys in a very particularly clever place. And now, the Annabelle doll is free, and the evil is all coming to the Warrens' residence. Annabelle has come home. So, yeah, I will say this. I did like this better than Curse of La Llorona. That being said, unfortunately, it's still not very good. It's a little draggy in a lot of places. It's not overly reliant on jump scares, which is a good thing. It tries to build mood, and I do like that characters are decent people for the most part. I mean, I said this thing about Daniela being stupid, but overall, she's not like, Judy is not particularly bratty. In fact, it's hinted that she shares her mother's ability to sense spirits. Daniela, although kind of acts like this sort of meant to be rebellious in a way, in the sense that, Mary Ellen looks very demure. She has, blonde hair. She wears a skirt. Daniela is in a pantsuit. This is like the 1970s, so yeah, she's not overly, like, I don't want to use that term, but you get the idea. But you kind of get these points that Daniela maybe doesn't always play by the rules, and there's some aspects to that I'll get to. But overall, she's very nice to Judy. She doesn't bully. She's not mean, and her intentions are kind of revealed. Basically, about a year or so earlier, her father died in a car accident, and Daniela was driving the car, and she was trying to see if the Warrens could maybe find a way to, contact her father's spirit, because she blames herself for the accident. And now you kind of get an idea as to what's going on. She's also, Daniela is also the brother of, this kid who's bullying Judy in the Catholic school, because Judy's an outcast because her parents hunt ghosts. Big shock. And so, yeah, that's kind of the motif there, and unfortunately, it's that's really kind of interesting, and that's where the story, and there's another funny bit, because Mary Ellen is a pretty, unfortunately, uninteresting character in that she's very nice. She, like I said, she's also kind of prototypical good girl, but, there's a boy that she likes, who's actually a neighbor to the Warrens, and of course, she's afraid to talk to him, but he likes her, and there's kind of a funny scene where he actually comes over to the house while a pizza is being delivered, and the pizza delivery guy basically gives him some advice. You gotta woo her with rock and roll, and he actually comes over with a guitar and tries to sing a song, and it's just horrendous. But later, because as some of the other things too is, Judy, in the trailers it's kind of misleading in that she immediately starts chastising Daniela for going into the room, but she also sort of points out that she snoops around the house sometimes too, and they come across a bunch of the Warrens' old files, and they happen across the story of a guy called the Ferryman, and the victim in this case looks a lot like Mary Ellen. There's this cursed bridal gown that if whoever comes into contact, whoever wears it turns violent. And then there's the story of this hellhound that haunted in England, and sort of that happens, and the hellhound comes and attacks Bob and chases him into the Warrens' chicken coop. Yes, the Warrens had a chicken coop. And unfortunately, that's where it kind of starts to fall apart. Like I said, I'm all for trying to build tension and lead to scares, but unfortunately the tension doesn't really lead to much scares. There are a couple of jump scares, but other than that, there's just not. And like I said, it just kind of it goes along and he keeps thinking like, okay, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen, right? Okay, okay. Yeah, like, you know, you get the Annabelle appears in Judy's bed scene, and, you know, that would be scary, except they played that in the trailer, so it's not scary at this point. And, yeah, like I said, there are a couple of jump scares, but they're not very effective jump scares either, unfortunately. And again, in a horror movie, you kind of want to be scared. And I get that you don't want to be overly reliant. Again, like I know I'm getting really repetitive here. I'm trying not to talk about the whole movie, but yeah. But basically, they realize they have to get the Annabelle doll back into the case because, yeah, she opens the case up. Daniela, while she's in the room, she opens the case up and she closes it, but she doesn't really lock it. So the doll, because the doll is basically like leaning forward with its head against the case, like she opens it, pushes the doll back, closes it, but it doesn't close all the way, and so the doll can just lean forward again and push it open, and the doll's out. That's what happens. And unfortunately, it's like each of the ghosts kind of starts haunting the girls because, yeah, Annabelle needs a soul, and at one point they try contacting Ed and Lorraine, and Lorraine starts talking about, oh, Annabelle, you know, and that's. But again, it's like, it's just, none of the scares really have any impact, unfortunately. Not to mention, since Judy Warren, I believe, is still very much alive, you kind of know she's not going to be in trouble. And, yeah, like, the film does also try to have a bit of a happy ending, because the idea is, like I said, Judy is an outcast at school, but kind of, you know, both Mary Ellen and Daniela wind up befriending her, and at the end they're throwing this birthday party, and it turns out like the two girls managed to get the other kids in the school to go to the birthday party, and basically Daniela's motif through this is Daniela does see the ghost of her father, who blames her because it's not actually the ghost of her father, and Lorraine actually takes Daniela aside and says, no, your father doesn't blame you. It's not your fault. Don't be too hard on yourself. And that's kind of how it ends. In the last sting, there is a dedication crawl to Lorraine Warren because she passed away a few months ago. But yeah, I don't want to say this thing was really bad because it wasn't. It's just unfortunately really dull. And that's why I have to give Annabelle Comes Home a D.
Wednesday on Real People, will Fred get the feel for fitting women's bathing suits? Then turn around your evening and take a load off your mind with the facts of life.
I rest my case.
And I'm Taxi. What's Louis' secret approach that drives the ladies wild? Then it's explosive action on Quincy.
I've never seen anything like that.
Wednesday on NBC.
Okay, trailer time, and well, we got a pretty decent mixture of new and old trailers in this one, so let's got that going for us. We had Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I believe that's a new one. That's obviously being produced by Guillermo del Toro. I forget who's directing it, unfortunately. It looked kind of interesting. Unfortunately, there's like 14 movies coming out the same weekend as that. I mean, it's August 9th, and that's a loaded weekend. I don't know. After that, we had Crawl, which is we will be covering in 2 weeks. After that, we had Good Days, which was basically picture Superbad, but with prepubescence rather than guys about to graduate high school. Yeah, it looked like I may have had a few moments, but I'm not entirely sold on it. After that, we had Joker again. We had It Chapter 2. I don't know if we had It Chapter 2 before this, but that's at least somewhat new. We had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again. Ready or Not. I don't remember if I had this trailer before either. I know I've seen it on YouTube, and that's why it feels like I've seen it. Like maybe I've had this before, but yeah, this is one about a wealthy family, and a woman marries into it, and then she discovers that it's actually part of a ritual sacrifice to keep the family immortal, and she has to play hide and seek and survive through the night without getting killed. And then to rounding things off, we had Stuber again. I'll also be trying to see that in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to pull a double feature there. Obviously, the next movie we're going to be reviewing is Spider-Man Far From Home. The next video is going to be the random trade review on Olympian's Zeus, King of the Gods. And then in between that, of course, we're going to have the AEW Fyter Fest recap and review. See you all next time. Hey guys, check out my Patreon and see how you can request a movie for me to review, even if it's some stinker like A Dog's Way Home or the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Also, if you like what you see, give the video a like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell.